Okay, so we're live. Hi, Hector. Good
Hey,
morning.
Uri. A pleasure to see you, my friend.
Yes, yes. I did a live before you were still sleeping, and I was sharing how we met, and yeah, how much actually meeting you was life-changing in many ways for me, and the exchange, and yeah, the opportunity to do a in-person weekend, and how much I feel there's at least for me, a longing to come together and do the work in person and learn from one another and do it here. I also shared we're going to meet near two rivers, the Arno and the Era, where they meet, where they converge two rivers, and a place called Spazio Nu. But yeah, would love to hear how are you and what's going on with you and this trip to Europe. How are you feeling about it, and what would you like to kind of share about this?
Okay, well, I like the image of the two rivers crossing, and of course, any river in the world is also fed by many smaller rivers usually. So I think that every time you and I meet or talk, uh, we are always bringing these new things, new ideas, new technologies. It's the first time I use Softtrack. I don't even know what the hell this is, and you are always bringing me to new, exciting connections and ideas and prototypes. This emerging little. Brotes. How I don't know how to say brotes when water comes out of the earth.
Mm.
Nacimientos we call it here. Things that are being born, and I think that we're both curious and the way that you have led Imagine Action after I returned to Colombia has been about being at the service of these new things that are born, even if they are very small at the beginning, in the midst of this collapse. Because we also met when you were in the process of leaving Israel after your experience as a soldier and everything that was happening in your soul. And I was coming telling the story of torture and the assassination of my brother. And it's like, how could we meet? It's like we come from such different worlds, but that's the beauty of rehumanizing each other by listening with our hearts to the story of the other person rather than simply judging who the other person is. And I was living with a Palestinian woman also, so everything was like an improbable connection, an improbable meeting, and quite the opposite happens because our souls are bigger than what our minds can fathom. Anyway, so yes, the learning has been always mutual, and we also have. I feel that one of the things that has interest us the most is this whole idea of mentoring, of when we see each other and we see the spirit in the other person. We see the medicine that the other person brings to the world, and all of a sudden, it doesn't matter where they're coming from or what their personal story is, or the collective trauma that they embody looks like. If we are at the service of the same passion and the same beauty and the same medicine in the world, then we have a lot to learn from each other, And so, yeah, this trip was a sudden trip. I got connected. I'm preparing something called the Souls Mycelium here in Colombia. It will take place June, and it will be like a gathering of people who do what we're doing and do it from different places, from theater, from the work with ritual, the work with the Word That Reconnects. So some people from the Word That Reconnect network is going to come. Joe Del Amor, her husband, and other who have been working in collective trauma, etc. And in our case, as the anfitriones, as the guests, we want to share what we have learned in the last 7 years. Uh, Four of them working with the Truth Commission, combining the work that reconnects with theater, social theater, theater of the oppressed, theater of witness, theater for living, and designing rituals with the groups that we have been meeting with, mostly as combatants from all the different groups and their victims. And so, in the dialogue with different groups, I spoke with my friends from Afghanistan. You remember that I was in Afghanistan 10, 12 years ago in Kabul and Herat. And then 3 years ago, when after spending $20 billion in the war machine, the United States handed back the control of Afghanistan to the Taliban. In that moment, our friends who had created an organization called Afghanistan Human Rights and Democracy Organization, that we were there at the beginning of this process, had to leave, and they left with their families. So 113 people, I don't remember how many, we were able to accompany, and now they are in different places. So they invited me to accompany them, groups of victims, the people who are working with this exile uh, people from Afghanistan in Germany. So, and always when I go to Europe, yes, we try to see what can emerge, and I will do a short workshop in Madrid to before the Toma Teatro festival, and is to show what we do, is to show how we, yes, theater audio press is the spinal cord of a lot of what we do, but we are always bringing new methodologies that we feel can serve the groups that we're working with. I remember when you introduced me to Dragon Dreaming, and we brought it into one of the workshops that we were doing, or we have been speaking about Theory U and how it illuminates the work that we do, and especially social presence in theater. I just met with Arawana in Mexico, and she obviously remember you, uh, etc. Like, we allow all these different rivers to feed the work that we do, the big river that we are, uh, that hopefully feeds the ocean of possibilities for the new life. And so I'm very happy that you are, as always, open with Ilaria and to to do a gathering, and that's what we are trying to do, is to see how we share what we're doing right now, our new explorations with other people. Well, that's how I see
Yeah,
it. What do you see, Uri?
yeah, no. So first of all, I'm glad to have Motima watching us, and we just had a beautiful 5 days online gathering last
Oh.
week with over 70 people engaging in different ways and 12
Mhm.
facilitators, and exploring the work that reconnects as an expanded, embodied body of work, and as a living work that is kind of trying to also see its own blind sides, because it's very easy for us to kind of develop methods and things and get rigid about it, and forget
Uh-huh.
that there's always something to grow and change. And then it has been really a humbling experience also for me to learn from everyone, and also to kind of really dig deep. And we had a conversation live yesterday with Matima, realizing like in the end, the last lady was John Croft and Paul, and they share about Dragon Dream. But then Paul asked the women what do the asking them what do they need from men, and there was something that really shifted
Oh.
there. And I think with Mutima, I was like, it's really knowing to ask the question from
Mhm.
the other side that opens up the real conversation to be had. Um, and I share the moment that I had in Senegal some years ago, where I was doing this white man monologue, and how it opened up the field somehow. There is a field opening. And you mentioned, I was born in Israel, and I've spent quite a few years now trying to avoid my origins, but I realized that there's no way of avoiding your origins at this point.
Absolutely.
So, and I respect, just to say that there are people fighting for rights and the organization standing together with Israelis and Palestinians who have Israeli citizenship declared kind of going to the border of Gaza, and several people got arrested the other day, including the one of the organizers, just for wanting to show solidarity to say stop this madness, stop this war, and that's the situation where we're in. I never felt very easy in protest. Like I sometimes went to protest, but it's not my energy. But
Hmm.
I I align with the intention, but I'm trying to find something that aligns with my energy, and I feel that the theater, this coming together across and the opening nucleus here with the concept of interconnectedness at work, that can also be a form of sacred activism, or at least I would like to think that that's what we're doing, that we're finding a way to heal our relationship with one
Hmm.
another from a deep perspective and a deep way, and a recognition of the wrongdoing, but also from a place of, yeah, we of honoring the pain and going towards liberation and um, yeah,
But I like what you're saying. That is also honoring the way your pain manifests and the way your pain chooses to heal, not feel forced to heal. Because yes, we can go to the demonstration; is relatively easy. We have been doing that for centuries, and we need to continue doing that. Yet it's not because I have to go to the demonstration, because I went to every demonstration in the United States while I lived there. There was so much to protest against. And I did it even doing creative things like creating monologues about the issues, monologues from the Guantanamo Bay prisoners, or from wherever in the world it was, or creating giant puppets to invite like a new way to look at these figures that we were trying to either show respect, like the assassinated people in El Salvador, Monsignor Romero, and the Jesuit priests that were killed by the Salvadorian army in the 80s, etc. But still, there was this part of me that it was always reacting, yeah, in the best way, responding through art. But still, there was this, I have to do it. And I feel that there is a huge invitation today in the world for deep listening. Bayo Akomolafe and many other authors are talking about this post-activism is somehow to look at the ways we have been reacting, responding, but not listening to what wants to emerge. I loved what you said about that question that was asked in that meeting with John Croft. Is in this separation of the feminine and the masculine that equips the separation humanity and nature, or the separation reason and intuition or mythology. This want of separation that Charles Eisenstein and other people talk about is how do we really listen, and especially listen to the moral and human world, listen to what once or what is emerging in the midst of the collapse of the ecosystems and the social systems, and the collapse of meaning that we're experiencing as humanity right now. So yeah, it's wonderful, and I haven't used Substack, so I don't know. Mutima is here. Is he just
yes,
listening to us, or
yes, yes,
because it was with Mutima that I did my training with the word that reconnects many years ago. When I, yeah, probably 15 years ago or something like that, and I was in the midst of a huge painful separation. I was I was in deep sorrow, but it was beautiful to first engage in a more full way with the work that reconnects. But then when I returned to Colombia, I started living in a rural area. I started planting my food, not all of it, but a few leathers that I really started embodying what it is to feel part of the web of life. And then now in every work that I do, even wherever it is, the the forms of invitation to connect to nature that come from the work that reconnects are always part of the work that we do. So thank you, Mutima. I'm not seeing you, but I'm glad you're there.
Yeah, she wrote Awaken to Love, the decolonized expanded spiral, which is something we explored last week. And yeah, I feel like I'm still integrating all of what we're explored last
Mm,
week in terms of seeing again like how what are the blind spots for this work and how to my own blind spots and how to bring them in. So
mm,
that's definitely something I'm bringing in terms of presenting the theater that reconnects framework, but in an expanded spiral
yeah.
way. By the time we meet, that's I commitment is that by say 6th of June I have it more clear. Um, but I'm yeah, maybe just for people watching later, like how do you imagine what we will you do? So people sometimes I don't know why people like to know what they're going to do. I
Well, I'm glad they want to know because I don't know. If I knew what we were going to do, I would not go. No, but it's I think what we have learned to do is that we bring a bag with lots of tools and lots of methodologies and lots of experience. In our case, more experiences with theater of the oppressed, with social presence in theater, with theater of witness, with theater as ritual, and theater as to reconnect. Um, we bring all this experience, but we bring them to be fully present with what wants to emerge from the alchemy of the people that are there, from their needs, from their desires, and and um, and then to be fully present to what wants to emerge. We always work with the body. We always engage with the activating the spontaneity and the wisdom of the body, because with discourse we can say many things, but when you start creating images, for example, or doing improvisations, you never know what's going to come out. And so it's a laboratory, it's an improvisation of the questions that bring us there, the trauma, both personal and collective, that brings us there, the story of separation and the woundedness of separation that is there present, and always whatever is happening in the world. I mean, yesterday there was another bombing somewhere. How those things bring us together from the different places that we come from our origins, and the ancestral woundedness that we all carry, from the separation masculine feminine and the gender relations, and so whoever is there, if there is a person who is exploring their trans, who is a queer, who is exploring their beautiful expression, that will affect the laboratory. And if there is no one like that, or someone who is from Afro-descendant origins, of course that will affect the conversation, etc. So we are there to exchange these medicines. I call it medicines, and see what, as a group, as a southern village, that we call this. What can we do to open the field, to open our hearts, to open our minds, and to open our volition to how we become more human with each other, are able to listen to the stories that we all carry, are able to hold the pain that we are all carrying without pretending to heal it or to give advice or any of those things. And then also, especially, are able to connect to the more than human world, to the womb of nature. And so we would probably have a lot of the beautiful methodologies developed by the work that reconnects. And I can't wait to hear what you learned from Utima and her very critical exploration of the work that reconnects from all that experience. I was unfortunate that last week I was completely busy. I could not connect, but I hope to see some of the recordings. So yes, I'm sure that we will do all of that, and then finally, which is more of the most recent exploration of my work, and I know that we have done a little bit of that with you, is what we call the use of theater or the use of all these methodologies to create spaces for ritual. And we understand ritual as the place where humanity heals, ritual as an opportunity for us as a community to create symbolic ways to deal with the woundedness that we carry, with the collective trauma. And 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 the fastest way I could say is in the trauma, our energy is frozen in the past. So you can say something that all of a sudden I feel offended by, or I feel triggered by, or I feel, oh, I'm not being seen by Uri or Uri, etc. And then I'm no longer 65 years old with all my experience, whatever it is, but I'm 12 years old feeling humiliated in front of somebody, or 5 years old feeling, I don't know what, unsafe. And then all my energy goes there, and I can wait to finish this conversation, so I can recuperate. But in the work that we do together, we accompany each other to go back there in whatever way we want to go back there and unfreeze that energy so we can put it at the service of the emerging world that uh, we are the vessels for that world. So for us, healing is always, or at least, yeah, I think that for you too, is part of the equation, is why we come together, because it's a luxury to come together in today's world. So we make sure that we are using the opportunity to really create spaces for deep listening. Yeah. So what's going to happen depends a lot on you, whoever wants to come, to bring you, your shadow and your fears and your beauty and your medicines, and put it at the service of the village.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and Mochima was asking when and where. So, uh, well, everywhere,
Oh,
everyone. In particularly, we're talking about a weekend, 6, 7, 8 of June. We're meeting in Pontedera, is Italy, in the meeting point of the Arno of the Era rivers, and yeah, in Spazio Nu. Um, I wonder if there's a way for us to share what comes out with the world that might be far for some people, but especially I think it's an opportunity to sort of encounter and exchange and yeah, kind of listening to what wants to come in the moment and the deep reason for us coming together. And I think a lot of time people don't even know why they come. I only know in the end of a something that, oh, I now I understand why I was here. But sometimes, sometimes even that it takes days. But there's something that is calling you to that gathering of souls
yeah.
of exchange. Um, and I do feel that, the way we created it is that there will be some introduction of the tools and the framework we use and some opening, and then we'll just dive into whatever wants to emerge. And maybe by the end of it, we'll do a little bit of sense making, what just happened and how to go next. So, yeah, well,
Yeah, and of course this is like a little taste, it's only 3 days. But I will be offering a 7 7-day workshop laboratory in India, in near Delhi, uh, in October, at the first week of October. So if some people also are interested in something more, with more time to cook and to evolve. Yeah, it would be great to share with you that information, as well as the Souls Mycelium gathering that is going to take place here in Colombia in June of this year, at the end of June. But yeah, we are constantly offering these laboratories to come together. I feel the mycelium, I call it the soul's mycelium, is bringing us together. Nature, like the mycelium in nature, we all know is this thing that had been with us before even things had names, and we just discovered it like 50, 60 years ago, thanks to the mushrooms. We were studying the mushrooms that we love to eat, and then we found under the mushrooms this incredible web that of connections, and then we discovered that that connects all of life, the roots of all the trees and everything in nature. So that life was being sustained by an invisible force, at least to us. And I feel that what we do, is also go into the places of woundedness and try to create meaning out of everything that has happened to us. In the forest, when a tree dies or falls and starts decomposing, or an animal dies, the mycelium moves in and extracts what serves life, while it still serves life. So in that dance of life, death, regeneration, the mycelium has an incredible role. I feel the work we do is the soul's mycelium, is we go into these places of woundedness and pain and hurt, and the things that are frozen in us as humanity also. Theory U is talking about that also, the frozen aspect of reality that we need to unfreeze to be able to serve the emerging future. So it is what is bringing us together. If someone has questions, why, what is bringing us here is the soul's mycelium. How you explain it, I don't know, but we are in that process.
Yeah, and I've been listening to a wonderful book by Robin Wall Kimmer, Braiding Sweetgrass, and I'm listening it on
Oh,
Audible, and it's just rocking my world. It's amazing. Um,
oh,
I just arrived to the chapter that she was talking about the three sisters. I don't know if you know, the three sisters are these three plants that is an ancient way in the Americas of planting the corn
yeah,
together with the beans, together with the squash, and
yes.
and they complement each other. So the
Hmm.
corn goes up, and then the bean climbs on the corn,
Hmm.
and then the squash covers the ground, and they all help each other in creating nutrients and
I've
a
been
few
feeding
things.
from those three sisters here for
Yeah.
for 7 years. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go
So,
ahead.
like a few things were, I heard about it, but the way she told me this time, there was something about, first of all, she was referring how when Europeans came to the Americas, they saw how they didn't understand what they were seeing, right? Like they said, like that they don't know how to farm because they were used to like lines, and so it didn't look to them like it was just a mess. They didn't recognize it as farming, but it was working better, and now people are even European descent are discovering it as permaculture. But they were just doing that for I don't know, and so that was beautiful, and also there is a story, there is a myth. So there's the three sisters. The story is different from each people, but the one that he told, that there were actually three sisters that came, and this tribe, this village, they had not a lot to eat, and and they had a hard time. And then these three sisters came, one tall and wearing yellow, the other kind of in green, and the third in orange. And they offered them, even though they didn't have a lot, they offered them what they have. They were good hosts, and then they reveal themselves as the corn and
Mm.
beans, and they gave themselves to them so they will never go hungry again, as seeds. And
Wow.
um, and I really like, as I'm listening, it's like what a different and amazing relationship to be relating to plants through stories, and how much wisdom there is in that, and how is it different somehow when she speaks about in indigenous languages, there is no it for plants
Hmm.
or animals. There is no it for even rocks or
Yeah.
mountain. It's there's no separation between how we address humans and plants. And that in some indigenous languages, plants, the meaning of the word plants is those who take care of us.
Hmm.
And how is it different somehow to live into that?
They are our kin, and that's what we're bringing to the labs or the workshops or the encounters. More and more is the more than human world that is constantly talking to us, and once we start paying attention to them, we are surrounded by by a village of not only sisters and brothers and ancestral rocks, and I feel that somehow the work that I have been doing in the last 7 years is to prepare people to enter a waterfall here in Colombia, the most biodiverse country in the world by square meter, and to enter the waterfall, not to take a selfie or, or a photograph, but to be able to ask this grandmother to to take the skin of this life, this woundedness, these scars that I no longer want or that I honor because they brought me to here, but then to take them, to wash them, and be reborn over and over and over again. When we ask people to, for example, the Gaia, to find a Gaia refuge, a place where they can really nest in nature and express whatever they need to express. I work with these combatants, and what they had told me is the first time I go into a community of trees or rocks or water, and they don't ask me how many people I have killed or how many people I have witnessed being massacred or destroyed, or how many people I did this or that. No, I am among kin where I can talk about the way my life has evolved so far and the things I need to heal, the things I need to let go, the things I need to ask for forgiveness, um, and how I need to reshape my life because of the circumstances that I have worked with and the choices that I had made, good or bad. And yeah, and that's what nature has, is it always welcomes us. It's a huge mother, and we need to stop destroying it. And and the invitation is it looks like human beings are the only beings in nature that refuse to flourish. And so I also feel that we are creating spaces for that to happen, to awaken, for that Gaia consciousness to awaken in all of us. And so we will do whatever we know to do it with ourselves, because what we're doing is healing ourselves in with the group, which is also why these encounters are like a ritual of coming together, with everything that we carry, with everything that we are. And
Mm.
yeah, so thank you, Uri, for and Ilaria for making this possible. And let's see. Yeah, we're welcome
Yeah,
whoever wants to come.
yes, yes. And I'm feeling as well like the three sisters, that they find their way to be in synergy.
Yeah.
Um, we can learn to be in synergy again with one another and with the other than humans, and put ourselves back in co-creation with all of life. And I feel this is flourishing, and that's I feel why we're not in flourishing is because we started to we became the monoculture uh,
Hmm.
that we produce. We
Yeah.
became the that lonely fields of same plant in row.
Mm.
We became that very sad
Mhm.
efficient system of production. Efficient in not in the sense that the Three Sisters creates more abundance than a field of corn
Mhm.
in a per square meter, but it's efficient in terms of the machinery, the collection, the mechanization. Yeah, I feel there's a lot of work for us as humans. I now say to demechanize, how Boal also said, and to come back to relationship. And again, for me, theater has been a medicine, and New Hector has been still a mentor and teacher in that ways. And I feel the medicine that I have received is the one I want to pass on and kind of
Mm.
bring in theater as a place that we see each other, that we see the whole, that we come into relationship, and that we gather in ritual to honor our pains and to find our action of liberation, no
Mm.
matter no matter where we come from. I
Mm.
feel in the end the river is taking us into the same place. So
Mhm.
it's also like following the river and coming together into relationship. Yeah.
Aho. Yeah. So yeah, we invite you to play, to co-create, to everything we do is activate the collective wisdom and the collective imagination with the question of what do we do with this, with what we're experiencing as humans in this world of modernity that is collapsing, and how do we serve the world that is emerging exactly at the same time. And so we need to deal with our pain, our fears, our anger, our sense of uncertainty, as we do in the Truth Mandala, as well as all these other issues, the systemic oppression that we have experienced in many different ways, depending on when we were born or where our soul chose to be incarnated. you can you can interpret that in different ways. And you mentioned before something that is also very important for us is the use of storytelling, is the use of myths. Um, Myths have become like a lie. When people say that's a myth, they mean it's a lie. But we know that myths are these strange arrangements of lies that tell the truth. Myths and the stories that we tell, that are 10,000-year-old stories from all over the world, are stories that talk about something that never happened, but is constantly happening. So we also go into the depths of the wisdom of the ancestors, which is what is in the stories. They are this symbolic forest of trees, and so we also invite that. Bring your stories, bring your songs, bring your ancestral, traditional. Spiritual tools, and then we will combine them with these new forms of that we have experiencing, that we have been experiencing, and see what else wants to emerge from these dialogues. And
Mm.
so yes, thank you so much, and thank you, Mutima. I don't know if she's still there.
Yeah. She just read, "Blessed be the promise of the great turning. Blessed be the promise
Oh,
of the great."
oh, great! Thanks for bringing that. Yeah, this is all at the service of the what Joanna Macy have called the great turning, is in the midst of this collapse. And yes, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Hey, brother.
Hector, and
Yeah.
be in touch. I'll share this recording with everyone, and please share with people that you feel are part of that gathering, that this message is for them. Please share that with them. And we see you in Italy, we see you in India, we see you in Senegal, we see you in Colombia,
And I
and
will love to welcome you all in Colombia. So yeah,
yes,
and
I will add maybe in the comments all these great invitations for this video. So please,
oh, great, thank you.
um, and yes, we were gathering here in Italy in beginning of June, and then Colombia, Mycelium, end of June. October there is India. We're planning something in Senegal, maybe January next year. And in between, we're here waiting, waiting actively, opening our hearts to the great turning and the
Wow.
possibility of relationship and entering back into relationship.
It's happening everywhere. It's maybe to use a final image is the often description of the butterfly. And I feel that as humanity, we have been the caterpillars. We have been going through the earth, devouring everything. But there is this internal drive to go into the cocoon. I feel that we are in the cocoon. For me, COVID-19 was a huge invitation to a rite of passage. And so, but in the cocoon, the imaginal cells starts appearing everywhere, and the caterpillar cells start protecting, defending themselves against this new intruder. But it just makes them stronger and makes them multiply everywhere until in that alchemical soup, the butterfly comes out. I feel we are in that moment as humanity. We are in this uh, melting alchemical place. It's very scary. We really don't know what is coming. We don't know. And that's the invitation to stillness, to listening, to deep listening, to see if new paradigms emerge. Because the ones we have are not allowing us to do the transformation. And so a lot of our workshops is also about letting what it is that I need to let go. Yeah. So the new me can continue evolving. And this is only done in groups, in community, in which is ritual is that it's a place where we as community allow people to experience what we always needed to experience, but we cannot experience alone. So the group holds us. We see other people go through that tunnel, and it inspires us because we had gone through the tunnel and come many times, but we get so scared because we feel so lonely, and then we go back. No, this is becoming aware that we are never alone, and not only because of humans, but especially because of the more than human world. So, and we might do a council of all beings. So we also promise you that you will be possessed by someone, and that you give your body and your voice to. So we were visited by the jaguar and the mycelium and the small flower and the river and the volcano and whatever the nevados that are melting everywhere, the glaciers that are melting, so we can hear their voices too.
Yeah, and Marike just joined, uh, and
Okay.
we're growing. And maybe just to say that, yeah, we don't know exactly what we will do, but I feel, yeah, we're going to listen
Yeah.
somehow to each other, and then listen to what wants to be born from us, and give voice. Uh, Marika says hi. Give voice to the other than human, and the nature that is within us, and the rivers that are nearby, going to be there. And
Mm.
I'm actually going before that. Now I'm going to Vienna for the Democratic Odyssey, and we did one in Florence where Noah, my daughter, she's 11, she was doing the river voice. She was doing the river Arno, speaking in the assembly. And now we're going to be near Danube, and we'll see who will play the river there, or the river, or what other voices that wants to be spoken. And I feel, yeah, it is very important to intentionally, and it's not easy in some of those spaces for people kind of like, let's stop a little bit what we're doing that is very important, and listen
Hmm.
to
Oh,
something else, to someone else, that
yes.
to our sisters and brothers
Mm.
that they
Our
want
king.
to share. Yeah,
Yes. Yes. All right, brother. Thank you so much. And I see you soon. And we will eat gelato. Oh, that's it.
gelato
That's the
and
real
pizza.
reason why I'm going there.
Yes,
So,
yes, there will be good pizza, good gelato. So come to Italy.
yes. All right. Okay, take care, guy. Everybody, thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Uri, for
Thank
conjuring
you.
the space. All right, I love you, man. Take
You
care.
too.
All right, bye bye. I don't know how to turn.